Becky. Today we're going to do Space and Beyond. So let's get started. I have a piece of paper and I have some pencils. And so the first thing, always write your name on your paper. Now, secondly, I have a couple of different circles, such as this large eye circle that I can choose to make a planet shape. Then I can also make overlapping planets. And overlapping, I'm not going to see this part that overlaps. So I'm going to go around my planet like this. And I can just make some other planets that go around. You can use different circles. You could use different shapes. If you have some of these shapes like this, you could definitely use them. But if you just like circles for planets, that's all right. There is a lot of different shapes and moons that are not just circles out in space. So, first step is getting those on the paper. For most moons, I usually recommend at least 3 planets and at least one set of overlapping planets. You may include things like the sun, which could be like a star in our solar system, right? And so you could start off with that shape and have it like a diamond. Flames to me are just like lots of blue wavy lines that kind of do your practice. So there's kind of some of those things to get started. Now, on my planet, I'd like to put some texture. So if I'm putting some texture, if I want it to make the planet look more round, I'm going to go with that natural curve of the actual planet. Now, if I wanted this one to have curves, but also wanted to have like some rings, I could have it so that the rings come around like this. And I could definitely have the rings coming around my planet. And if I saw the whole planet, like if I'm going to do it on this planet, I could have it so that my rings go around my planet like that. Not all rings are just a solid ring. Some of them are made up of ice chunks. So you could definitely put some different kind of shapes in there. You could go back and erase little parts of the planet that you don't want to maybe see. But these are kind of like those C shapes, and they start and end up where the planet is. This planet, like I said, I was kind of making rings, so I'm going to kind of go, not just rings, but kind of looks like stripes. And so I'm going to kind of make them have that little bit of the shape of the round planet. And other ones I think will go behind enough. Now on this planet, I'm going to make it have some of those, maybe like it has some storms brewing on it. So as the lines maybe come across, it might not just be smooth sailing. The great thing about this is you can add so many of your things that are in your imagination. You could add other things to your other planets, maybe even some kind of like craters. And add some little up down in there just by adding more than one. Just kind of makes it look like it has some depth to it. And you could add different things like spaceships. This is where you could definitely use some of the templates. You could take those triangle shapes. Spaceship. there's lots of different things you guys can add into your artwork. And this is where your imagination is really great. You can do over your art desires. And just kind of playing around with different shapes and looking at where they could fit. So you could definitely keep adding different things. Now, you could definitely add some different black holes back here. You could definitely add some shooting stars or shooting little clouds, something in the air. So once you get started, you'll have it all laid out. Name at least 3 planets, I would say, and at least 1 set of overlapping can add a lot of variety in the background. Now the next step is going to get out and trace. I'm going to use my Sharpie and I'm going to pause and do it in fast forward. Now, after you get a lot of the normal tracing done, you can go back and you could add things like stippling. Stippling is adding dots. Sometimes it's used to add lights and darks to it. Sometimes to just add a little bit more texture. Like around here, it could add some of that texture to the rings. You could use hatching marks. Hatching marks are usually parallel lines that could go around. Or you could do some cross hatching. Cross hatching would be where you have the lines going one direction and then they're crossing over the other direction. So you could put some of those into your actual planets, into the actual parts, having a crossover. Sometimes I like to switch my marker to a more finer marker. This one has a little bit more of a fine tooth, or fine line, I should say. So if you go back over it, it's going to give a little bit more, but not too much. And sometimes in those planets, we can use some of those hatching marks just to add a little bit more shape. I'm actually going to go back and add a little bit more stippling to this one, but I'm going to use the finer marker or the thicker marker. Around the outside, just to like really close together. And then further apart as they get in here. So you can use these techniques throughout and it will add a lot of variety into your actual artwork. So in the background of your artwork, we're going to do a lot of watercolor in this artwork, but if you want something like around this planet, you want it to stay where it has maybe a little more of a glow, I can take this white or even around these rings and I can put a little bit of this wax and the watercolor will resist it. And so I'm not going to put it on everything. So in between the rings, it will still get some color, but I can take a multitude of different colors with my crayons and use the wax resist. So different things like in my sun, and today I'm using kind of some pearly crayons, so they'll have a little bit of a shine when they're done. But I'm actually going to use regular and pearlescent watercolors. If you don't want as much color, but you still want that wax, you can take like a darker crayon. This is just a shiny gray, and you can go around the outside of a planet. But there's lots of ways to kind of incorporate that wax into your artwork. And this usually helps keep your colors where you want them. So it's one of the benefits of using a wax resist technique in your artwork. Some nice colors in here. This is going to be a warmer color planet. So once you get everything laid out with your crayon, then you can go back and you can paint. The first step I'm going to kind of start with is kind of putting on a wash. And if I do a wash, like in the background here, I can start to layer up some colors. So like if I go in with like a purple or a blue color, and it really will help it spread the color out. And it will help if I want to put layers on. So where I go right up to that building, because it's got the wax, it should stop right where our building the planet is. But you can see I can get a nice first layer wash on my actual artwork. So the rest of this I'm going to fast forward, and then I'll come back and take a final picture. So I added some layers of watercolor. I'm gonna let it dry a little bit. I might need to go back over with a few more things, but right now it looks like a pretty good space artwork. So I hope you have a great time creating art about space.